There's this moment in your life that you keep pushing aside, not because you're dramatic, not because you're hiding, but because you haven't found a way to speak about it without fully coming undone. But here's the thing that most podcasters never hear. That moment, that story, there's a single sentence buried deep inside of it. And that is the key to why your message isn't landing. Your audience doesn't need the whole traumatic backstory, but they need something. They need that single line that opens up inside of them and makes them lean in. And today I want to help you find that magical sentence, those magical few lines inside that big old trauma story you have that's going to make your audience lean in, listen longer, and become those loyal fans that become your first clients in your next program. Are you ready? Let's do this. Welcome to Podcast Story Selling. I'm Jen Dragonette. Here, we use your story to lead with connection before strategy. So your podcast doesn't just grow, it converts. And your business actually pays you without hustling harder. And the best part, we get to do it with ease because we focus on the right effort. Let me guess. There is a story you want to tell. That one that shaped you. You know that one. The one that built the human that's behind the mic right now. The one that explains why you do the work you do. But every time you talk about it, it feels too big, too messy, too complicated, or maybe you just completely lose your mind because you are trauma dumping. You are dumping the full story, too many details. So now you're avoiding it altogether, or you're sharing it in a way that leaves it too much and people feel overwhelmed instead of connected to you. And here's the real mind twist, the mind effery, if you want to call it. It's not the full story they need. It's not the full trauma timeline. It's not the entire journey. There are moments, single moments inside that story that carry all the emotional weight. Those moments that people feel, the moment that people trust, that's the moment that people buy. And that moment for me, well, if you have heard my story, you know how I open my signature speech. 5 years ago, I had a plan for the day. That was going to be my last day on this planet. But because my plan wasn't supposed to be executed till the afternoon, I followed my morning routine. I woke up, I grabbed my phone, and I plugged into one of my favorite podcasts, and she had a guest on that day. What that guest said changed my life. And I said, one more day. One more day. I will give it one more day. And that was the day that I started my podcast and found a way out of the situation I was in. Pretty powerful, right? I didn't tell you what led me up to it. I didn't tell you what pieces of the story. I didn't tell you my plan, but I told you why one more day. I told you I had a plan. I told you that you obviously know that it had been pretty bad to get to there. And those are the moments that carry that emotional weight that you just leaned in. Maybe you're feeling that way. You're like, why am I even bothering? Maybe you don't have a plan, but you're like, why am I bothering? Why am I doing this? You know, there's different parts of the story that I pull into different things. Like podcasting was my way out. Podcasting was my loophole to where I could make friends in a way that was safe because it was quote unquote business where that couldn't be taken away from me. I'm not telling you the whole story, but you have pieces inside your story that do this. If I try to tell the whole story, it's too much. It's too heavy. It's too long. It's too distracting. And there's a certain point when your brain says, nope, I'm not going to listen to this anymore. Either it feels too heavy, either I feel like I'm being a victim, or I'm trauma dumping, or there's a part of the story that it's like, it's too much. But when I say I had a plan for my last day and one podcast episode kept me alive, boom, like mic drop, people stop, they lean in, they feel it. Again, not because the whole trauma is on display, but because the truth is. That part of your story, that's your entry point. That's the doorway to connection, trust, and sales. But this is also the part where most podcasters get stuck. They try to convince instead of connect. They try to tell that whole story instead of just that one moment. They sell their offer instead of inviting the person to come on in. But when you find that piece, that little moment, that entry point that's like, oh my goodness, leaning in, it becomes an invitation into your world, into what's coming, into they see themselves in your story and your transformation. So you start there, you weave in the transformation, you give them the why, you give them the emotion. And like for me, I give you the first step. Each one of these episodes will have a 15-minute action step in it because I want you to take action from it. I don't want you to just feel my content. I want you to move forward with your life and your business and your purpose. But your story becomes that invitation. It's not the pitch. It's not the pressure. It's not the performance. It's the invitation. I am inviting you into my story. I am going to teach you something to help you transform into the next. It might not be teaching. I'm going to share a way to help you move forward. I'm going to share that piece of the message that feels so freaking good. And that's what I want you to do today. I want you to find yours today. So, what's the difference between a sales pitch and a story invitation? Well, here's my offer. Here's the features. Here's where you should buy. It's logical, super surface level, and it makes people pull away. That's because no one wants to be convinced. No one wants to know all the nitty gritties. They want to feel why they should be in your program. The sales pitch is like, yeah, you get these 3 one-on-one calls with me, and then you get me in between the DMs. We'll craft your story. We'll fix your sales pitch. We'll fix your SEO. All you got to do is buy my podcast glow up. Sales pitch. Here's my offer. Here's the features. Here's why you should buy. But you didn't connect with it emotionally. So I'm not going to stand out. I'm not going to hit that soul level of like, yes, she can help me with this. Yes, she can make me feel better. Yes, I'm stuck in this. It just feels like a sales pitch. It just feels like another guru. But the difference when you invite through stories, it says, here's the moment that made me create this. If this is for you too, I can help. It's emotional. It's human. It makes people lean in and pull towards you and your gifts. It's not something that just tells them what you do. It makes them feel seen. It makes them feel enough to take their own step, their next own step. This is the heart of story selling through storytelling. When you can master that way to sell the story, yes, I was in a dark place. I made a decision. I decided to podcast. Podcasting gave me friendships that were safe when I was in an unsafe relationship where I was not allowed to have friends. Podcasting gave me the ability to grow my business to where I am right now, where I can be single, Northern California, wine country, living on my own in a 4-bedroom house that I own. Well, the bank owns half of it. But I can say those kind of things. Am I wealthy? No. Am I living paycheck to paycheck still? Yes. But I'm able to do it in a manner that I'm not hustling to social media. I'm not hustling to find my people because I have built these deep connections through stories and collaborations and having people on my show and community, because people first podcasting, people first marketing, people first networking is where that magic is. And you connect with people through storytelling. So, as promised, here is your 15-minute action step. I'm going to call this the story extraction method. Are you ready? Now, this beginning part, I do want to say you don't have to do it all because I don't want you to get stuck in trauma and I don't want you to have a bad rest of your day. But I need you to go deep for, 5 to 10 minutes. So your first step, write out one defining, difficult, deeply human story. I don't want you to edit. I don't want you to filter. I don't want you to, I should say that. I shouldn't say this. I should say that, blah, 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 blah. I want every detail, every emotion, every moment that you remember. How did your body feel? Did you clamp up? What was said to you? What did it smell like? What did it taste like? What did it feel like? What was going on in your life? How did you emotionally feel? The more you get out, the easier it is to find those moments. Let it all out. Unload the whole thing. So this is private. This is just for you. This is not something you're going to share with your audience because this is the moment I want you to trauma dump. Trauma dump, trauma dump. Something like you tell your therapist the full story. This is for your clarity. This is not for your content. Got it? So 10 minutes of that. Once you're done with that, step 2 is I want you to find those anchor lines. It's 5 minutes. Read it once. I don't want you to rewind it. I don't want you to rewrite it. I don't want you to overthink. Highlight those 1 or 2 sentences that just are like throat punches, punch you in the chest, make your body curl up, because guess what? Your audience is going to do that. That is the line. And that is the line that's going to carry the truth, that's going to connect with your audience. For me, it was, I had a plan for my last day, but that one podcast stopped me. I didn't realize I was disappearing for my own life until someone said this. I wasn't breaking down. I was breaking open. I didn't leave because I was brave. I left because I finally couldn't stay. These are your entry point lines. These are the magical sentences in there, but sometimes you have to just dump it all out. This is your emotional doorway. This is your story invitation. This is your opener to say, work with me. This is your anchor for everything. You can use this in your podcast intro, keynotes, about you pages, CTAs, interviews, sales pages, your books, anything you want to do. This one line, these few lines become the heartbeat of everything you create. And that's the magic of story selling. So if you're ready to do this and go deeper with this process, again, I have the 3-pack podcast glow up. I already told you what it was all about, but what this really does is 3 sessions with me where we can go deep into these. We can pull out these stories. We can revisit the messaging. We can find those emotional anchors that help you sell. We can make sure these anchors are in your podcast description, inside your sales messaging, and inside your program, so that you're really drawing in that person and the magic that you can give them through what you have been through. Again, we're not reliving the trauma over and over and over and over and over again, but we're using pieces of it to make our audience lean in, say, I trust you. I feel seen in your story. Your solution does help me. So if you're ready for that, just head down to the show notes, grab a podcast glow up. And if you're not quite ready for that, you can also grab a, free 30-minute podcast audit with me where we can dig out some of these things, because I want to make sure that I'm supporting you. But do the 15-minute action step. I'd love to hear about it. This is the only time that I'm going to say go over to social media, because although I don't post there, I do check my DMs because I like to have conversations with you. So you can go over there, jen.dragonette. Pretty much on all platforms. I think Facebook is Jennifer Dragonette, but everything's in the show notes. So make it easy on yourself. Just make it a click. But go out, because again, I had a plan for the day, but a podcast changed my life. I want to help you find those lean-ins. And I just did this with somebody at a coffee shop the other day, and they're like, how'd you know my story when I didn't even share it with you? I'm like, you told me enough that I can resonate and connect and pull out those lines without you having to trauma dump. This is where your magic is. The story is where your magic is, but you don't have to tell the whole story to make the impact. All right? So go out and make today amazing, because you are beautiful, you are wonderful, you are worthy, and your story deserves a microphone. Now go do the thing.